Hello, friend. You're on the American Stories channel. Here, real-life love stories come alive, amazing, touching, and sincere. Every story is a journey into a world of love, hope, and self-discovery. Dive into our tales, and maybe you'll find a piece of your own life in them. If you enjoy our stories, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. Your support inspires us to share even more amazing stories. A dark night hung over an abandoned district of Chicago when Daniel's world turned upside down. It felt as if the walls were pressing in on his chest, and the air suddenly became poisonous. His wife, Lily, had left this world, leaving behind their newborn twin daughters. Only despair filled the emptiness. Daniel, an African American from the very bottom of society, grew up in a neglected neighborhood where every day could have been his last. He barely finished school, dreamed of a different life, but never knew how to reach it. Lily was the only bright spot in his darkness, and now she was gone. In his hands, two tiny girls, Maya and Liana, who understood nothing yet, only cried, sensing the absence of their mother in their hearts. Bills lay on the kitchen table, the fridge was nearly empty. In his pocket, a handful of coins. Daniel couldn't afford even a day for mourning. He had to bury his pain with Lily and pick up two old baskets to head to the market. There, among the shouts of vendors and the stench of rotten vegetables, his new struggle began. He sold everything he could find, old things, apples nobody else wanted, even his own shoes. His hands were calloused, his eyes exhausted. He took the girls with him, sitting them in a box behind the stall when no one could look after them. Sometimes people complained that the children cried, but Daniel only apologized, he had nowhere to leave them. At home, a cold room awaited, where he held his daughters close to warm them. Sometimes a neighbor brought them some leftover bread. But most nights Daniel slept, hugging the girls, praying they would wake up alive in the morning. He had no time for dreams, survival was all that mattered. Every morning Daniel hurried to the market. The girls were a bit older now, but still clung to his old coat as if it were a lifeline. Maya and Liana looked just like their mother, big dark eyes, thin faces untouched by joy. He set up his goods near the dumpsters, the only spot available. The air was heavy with disappointment, and only the poorest came here, Daniel among them. Wind blew away their cardboard boxes, and the children shivered under threadbare blankets. Yet Daniel still found the strength to joke for his girls, telling them stories of distant lands they'd never seen. Sometimes the police drove the market away, and the family had to run, hiding their wares and the children under their arms. It was often dangerous, loud quarrels, fights over scraps, screaming and tears. Daniel was often the target of mockery, called a beggar, but he endured, he had to. At night, he came home with just a few cents. When Maya fell ill, Daniel had no money for medicine. For 3 days and nights he didn't sleep, praying for the fever to break. Helplessness, fear, and guilt tormented him. But giving up was not an option, too much depended on him. Winter in Chicago showed no mercy. Cold crept into every crack of their old apartment, long bereft of any warmth. Daniel stayed awake at night, feeding the last bits of wood into a tiny iron stove to keep the girls from freezing. Money barely covered even cheap food, so he divided every slice of bread, going hungry himself. One day, he stole an apple from the market, and couldn't forgive himself for days. He never wanted to be a thief, but when you see hunger in your child's eyes, your conscience goes silent. Maya and Liana fell sick more often, cough, weakness, constant cold. Daniel rubbed their hands, covered them with everything he had, recited prayers he remembered from childhood. Sometimes, he just sat in the darkness, holding his girls, desperate enough to scream, but too tired. Neighbors turned away, everyone had their own troubles. Only old Mrs. Miller would sometimes bring them a can of soup or worn-out children's shoes. From her, Daniel learned that sometimes support comes from complete strangers, not those you expect. Once, vandals burned down the market, and Daniel was out of work for weeks. He collected bottles from the trash, praying it would be enough for milk for his daughters. He feared the police, feared child services might take the girls. But above all, he feared giving up. As Maya and Liana grew, their hearts were already too heavy for children their age. They learned to stay silent when they wanted to cry, and to hold each other's hand when things got scary. Their mother lived only in an old photograph beside the bed. At school, the girls were mocked, their clothes were worn out, their lunches wrapped in newspaper. Sometimes they went hungry all day. The teachers pitied them, but couldn't help. The girls quickly learned to be careful, never tell outsiders how they lived, never complain, never ask for extra. Daniel tried to compensate for everything he couldn't provide materially with love. Every evening he told them stories about how their mother sang lullabies and dreamed of a better life for them. He taught them to believe in themselves, even when the world seemed not to care. Maya drew beautifully, and Liana sang so movingly that neighbors wept outside their door. Daniel was proud, but didn't know how to give them a chance to shine in this world. In his eyes, despair and helplessness; in theirs, hope they refused to lose. The teenage years brought new challenges. The sisters were becoming beautiful, but their lives remained harsh. Maya stayed up late drawing, dreaming of art college, but knew there was no money. Liana worked at a cafe after school, her voice sometimes echoing in empty halls, but to everyone else, she was just the daughter of a poor street vendor. One day Daniel, coming home from work, collapsed in the street, his heart gave out. The girls found themselves at his hospital bed, not knowing how to pay for treatment. They sold almost everything they had, begged friends and strangers, even considered selling their mother's photo, but stopped at the last moment. They couldn't give up their only memory. When Daniel returned home, he couldn't work as before. Maya took over the housework, Liana sang in bars for pennies at night. Their childhood was truly over. But for the first time, the girls realized, their fate was in their own hands. They decided to fight for their future, no matter the pain. Years passed. The sisters grew up strong and determined. Maya earned a small scholarship and got into a local college. Her art caught the eye of a famous painter, who saw the pain and love in her work and helped organize her first exhibition. Liana got a chance to audition for a music show. It seemed impossible, but her deep, soulful voice touched the judges' hearts. She made it to the finals, soon signing a record deal. Life changed for Daniel and his daughters. There was money, the chance for treatment, a better apartment, and above all, the chance to realize dreams that once seemed impossible. Even when they stood on stages and in galleries they had once only dreamed of, the pain and memories never left. Maya and Liana never forgot where they came from. They helped others, supported poor children. Their father sat in the audience at every concert or show, tears in his eyes. Evening. A vast concert hall. Liana sings before thousands, Daniel, gray-haired but happy, sits in the front row. Maya comes on stage, her paintings are now sold in top galleries worldwide. Both daughters receive an award for charity, and this time, they don't hold back their tears. In the finale, the sisters hug their father. The whole audience stands in ovation. In every heart, hope, even from the deepest darkness, you can grow toward the light. Out of poverty, despair, and tears, strength and love are born, if you don't give up. After the show, they walk home together. They have dinner at the table, just like in childhood, only now in a warm, bright apartment, laughing through tears. On the wall hangs their most precious photo, Lily, smiling, holding her newborn daughters. Now her dream has come true, her family is happy, and her daughters have become true stars, not just on stage, but in the hearts of everyone who heard their story.